guys, I am Anuja and I am a design graduate from Srishti. I graduated in Information Arts and Design, and you can call me a graphic designer or an illustrator by education. I'm currently doing my masters in design and education, and that requires me to understand how educational systems work and what role does design play in the field of education. And I'm currently working as a freelance designer, and I teach and do all the design and social media work at Alangangal. At Alangangal I do a lot of things, but the one of the most important things are the ones that I told you about. So today I'm going to talk to you about how to set up a studio space. Yesterday you all had gotten a pre-festival task which was to set your own studio space where you're going to work. You call it a home studio, right? So I'm going to talk to you about what all are the things that are required in a studio space, why are they required, and then I'm going to share you what my space looks like. So I'm also somebody who hasn't really worked from home in a very long time. I studied outside and then I've been working on Alangangal since as long as I can remember. But just a week before the time of the quarantine is when I set up this studio. So that's why I thought that I'll tell you all about how my space looks like. So I'm going to start with why do you need a studio space at home? What I mean by that question is a home is where all of us have our comfort zones, right? So we don't usually require to have a separate space for working, right? Because we're comfortable everywhere. We're anyways on a lockdown. So why do we need a special place to work? But just like how we require a bed, right? We always, most of us have this notion wherein we have the best sleep in our own beds. So maybe you can understand from the similar idea that maybe when you set up a space in which you've put in that much effort and energy to build a space which resembles or resonates to you, it probably will help you work better. So you require a space because no matter how much comfort zone you have in and around your house everywhere, there should be a corner which is inspirational and which is inspirational and enthusiasm generating for you. Because in a time when you're not getting out of the house for such a long time, maybe to have a space which enables you to want to work on yourself instead of wasting all your time on Instagram and games and a lot of things we don't usually rather spend our time on. It requires to give you that energy. So that is the first and the foremost reason why we need to have a home studio space. And the second is, as any working artist or somebody who's working in any field of their choice, you spend a lot of your hours on doing those things. So emotionally, mentally and physically, you are investing and engaging a lot in that activity. And if there is not a space which is giving out a positive vibe to you, which takes care of your mental environment, you might not be able to function as better as you can when you have a space like that. So that's about the why. And apart from that, there are a lot of mandatory things, some of which we mentioned in the post yesterday that you had gotten. So a lot of the mandatory things include the most important one was the natural lighting. So you can see that I have a big huge window here as well. But natural light is because it is always said that, right, that most of us are more comfortable in working during the night because then we have nobody to disturb. It's usually more quieter. But most of the very legendary artists and the famous ones whose works we have looked at have worked during the day. And one of the reasons that I have always been taught, I'm not, in this time of quarantine, I've also developed this habit back again, like I was in college, where I used to stay up nights and work, but I'm trying to change that right now, is because I realized that the colors in my paintings started getting muddier because I was working in the night. And then my teacher, Tanu sir, actually, he told me that if I'm working in bright daylight, my colors seem brighter in the day because then I can see the proper and the correct tone of those colors when I'm working in the sunlight instead of working in the dark. And also the energy that one has when you're up in the morning, have taken a bath and then sit to work is very different than when you start working at the end of the day, because then at that time a lot of your energy is already gone and you're partly exhausted, so you might not be able to work at your best potential. The second is the artificial light. So in my studio I have this big tube light which enlightens the entire space, but I've also put up a smaller yellow light here, so just in case I'm working on something which is in which I have to draw or have a lot of focus, or I'm working later in the night, I prefer having both the lights. And I have a yellow one here, but since I had a spare one from my father, I also have one there which is a white light. So depending on if I'm doing some tracing or if I'm coloring, I would rather use a white light instead of a yellow one, because yellow one in the yellow one again, the colors might look different. The yellows and the reds might look different in the yellow light. The next one is the tools for 2D work. So my style of working mostly involves working on a 2D surface, which is either paper or the computer screen. So most of the tools right now, because I'm working, are here itself, like my brushes and pencils and cutter, everything is here. And I also have a brush bag which has most of my tools in it. So this is what my brush bag looks like currently, with half the tools outside. So these are my 2D tools. And during the festival you'll be given a lot of tasks which are not only 2D. So we also suggested that you all have all the 3D material that you require, because there will be days wherein you'll be asked to make something with paper or cardboard, or maybe make clay and work on something with that. So that is the third thing. One more additional thing that I wanted to add here was that it is also good if you have a board or some older hard surface, because if you're asked to cut things and you cut it on your working table, you might have scratchy surfaces and not plain surface to work on, which comes as a hindrance when you're painting stuff. So that is one thing I would suggest if you can arrange, but that's not really important, because then again you can cut on the floor as well. That's the third thing. The fourth is the arrangement for the sitting. So I am somebody who gets really clumsy and sleepy if I'm sitting on the floor and working. So, and because I also have a bed in my room. So initially, before I set the space up, I was sitting and working on the bed. But I know that if I'm sitting on the chair and working, this is a place where I can't fall asleep, even if I have to read something or something which is not very interesting for me to do. I'm still not bored. So this works for me. But apart from this, if I have to work on something which is bigger than my table surface, I sit on the floor and open everything else and work on the floor. But it depends. Not necessarily everybody has to have both or either, like both or the table one only, because you can have a different way of working. Also, I'm going to be showing you some images after this, in which there are studio spaces of very, like, all the different artists from all around the world. Some of them are very famous ones that you know. There's Frida Kahlo, there's Monet, there's Paul Cézanne, and all these guys. So they have bigger spaces, but if you look at those pictures, you'll understand and get more ideas about what else can you add in your space to make it more custom. One more very good thing that I saw in the video, in the images that I saw, was that some of the tables are inclined. So I'm somebody who stays and works like that, but not all the time. So if there's an arrangement you can make, either to make the table slanting, or if something comes up, then you can sit like this and work as well. So to make that arrangement, I have this table which comes up, but apart from that, I have this easel as well, wherein if I want to sketch something or write something down in the middle of this, I can come here and write that down. So that's for the sitting. The next one is your space should respond to your working habits. So I am somebody who cannot be alone for a very long time. Like, I've always worked in groups, and not somebody who's very silent and introvert. Like somebody who would want to be in a space wherein there's nobody else he's talking to all the time. So to take care of that, I've put up a board with all the pictures, like a few pictures of all the people that I like being around all the time over here. I'll show it to you when I give you the tour. And there are certain things that I've added here. So like I have added some flowers, because if I have to be looking at something fresh, I kept those flowers. But since I haven't stepped out of the house for a very long time now, I've kept this tray of bougainville flowers, and they're very dry, but if you don't touch them, they look very fresh. So that is one thing that I've kept here. And I'm somebody who also likes to munch in the middle of the night or whenever I'm working, because going, eating, and then coming back is a longer break than sitting here and eating something very quickly to continue working. So I have some basic snack and bottles of water over here as well. So that is it. The next thing is, keep all the things that you require at a hand space, like an arm's distance. so that you don't have to get up and go. So most of the things here are the ones which I know I need all the time, but apart from that, all my art material is inside the cupboard, which I don't have to use all the time. So whenever I need something, like all my 3D tools and all my other projects that I've done are inside the cupboard. So that is one. And I also there's this thing about music. So a lot of us, or most of us, always like to listen to music when I'm working by ourselves, but there is no specific this that I found about what kind of music do you listen to, because each one has a very different taste in music. Some of us like to listen to Bollywood, some of us like to listen to instrumental music, some of us listen to albums, and some of us listen to covers, and there are a lot of different choices, right? But this is one thing all of us can keep in mind while thinking about what kind of music we play while we are working is it should be a music which doesn't make you move a lot or doesn't make you tap your feet while you're listening to it. It should be something which helps you calm down and makes you work and not want to move, so that, because if you're moving, half of your brain is focused towards the beats instead of being focused towards what you're doing. So these are some of the mandates and some of the suggestions. And apart from that, I have this list of add-ons which you can consider having in your space. One is something green. I don't have that because right outside my window I have a tree and it's working for me, but some of you might want to have like a plant or something in your space, because it's always good to have another co-living thing. I have my hamsters as well, so that works for me. Oh yeah, I have hamsters. So I have 4 of them. I will introduce you to them during my tour. And the next one is some motivators around you. So there will be times in your this month-long process as well, wherein there are some tasks which you are not able to work on very easily because you have a block or you are having difficulty solving them. So for those, it is always good to have your paintings or some quotes which move you somewhere around the space where you can see, because then you know that every time you feel lost or you need a reminder, you can look at that. For me, all the paintings that I put up here, some of them are the ones which tell me how I want to think and what to forget and what to remember. So I have those there. And it is also good to add some personal things. I have a bunch of flowers here and a calendar made of seed paper. So none of us usually require a calendar because most of us can see our dates on our phones immediately. But that is a calendar I designed. It's a seed paper calendar. And it is a reminder to me about all the things I need to keep in mind about the environment and a lot of things. So that's why I have a calendar there. So that is about claiming your state. I'm sorry. The next one is to keep your space organized. So I'm sure you all must have attended the live session yesterday, wherein everybody was there on the live Instagram camera. So if you remember, Millie ma'am had mentioned about how you should clean your studio space at the end of every day. I know there's a stereotype saying that all the artists are supposed to be clumsy, their spaces are always dirty, they don't usually listen to anybody, they're very different, they find more comfort in rags than in normal clothes, like normal formal clothes. That's again, they're all stereotypes, right? And I'm not asking you to clean your studio and have a very corporate looking space, but again, like there will be days wherein you're having a block or you end up a day wherein you're just tired or you do not want to sit and work. You might not want to start your next day with the same energy. So if you at the end of the day clean your studio enough to have a fresh start the next morning, it is always nice to come back to it after having taken a longer break. So that is about the organization. The next is I saw a lot of pictures that you all had uploaded of your spaces in the group yesterday. So amazing spaces. It is really amazing to see how none of these spaces are very similar looking, but at the same time they all follow most of the mandatory things that we've put down here. And also they're also different and customized, like they're very personal to everybody. Like all the people who I know out of the ones who've put it up there, it very much resonates your character and your personality. So similarly, there was some pictures I saw wherein all of us are wearing our comfort clothes, the ones that we wear when we're sleeping or when we are at home. So I understand that we're still at home, but if you take a bath, like I've been trying to do that since the beginning of the festival and the planning started, that if you take a bath in the morning and fresh sit on the table when you're freshly and dressed up, then you know that you've begun your day with the idea of trying to make something. Because if not, it is usually not so fresh. So that is one. And yeah, that is all I have to say about how a studio space should be and what all the things that one can take care of. There are some images I'd like to show, so maybe you can see them after this. So these are a few of the images that I've gathered from the internet to give you a further idea of what else you can add to your studio to make it better than how it already is. So the first one is 3 different kind of artists and 3 different kind of ways of working. This is about the inclined table that I told you about, that for some it works and probably for some for others it doesn't. This is the inclined table sitting arrangement. This is a very minimalistic, broader table setting that I really liked, how it's so clean and white and empty. This is how I was inspired to make my table. This is because I have 2 tables, one next to the other. One is when I'm working and the other one is a side table where I keep all my stuff. So it can be vice versa, that you have another table where you're keeping all the things that you're making or all the 3D stuff and all your hands-on things are on your table. This is a floor sitting arrangement, and well, this is how a professional studio looks like. Probably like it's a whole space dedicated only to art making. So they have like bigger tables, huge storage spaces, very good lighting, top lighting, and there's natural light also, both coming from the top, so that the kind of light and the direction of light doesn't change when the sun goes down. This is also something I like, wherein you don't have everything on the same wall. So like this space enables you to be moving around. This is the studio of, I don't know how many of you know about him, Neistat, and he is built the studio. He's a maker and a YouTuber. You definitely have to look at his videos. I'll share some links of his videos in the group. Well, and he does multiple things. He has a studio wherein there are all kind of tools, all kind of facilities, and he shoots videos. So that's what he's famous at, and his story is something worth listening to. So I'll share the links about him in the group after this. This is Cicely Brown. This is a studio. I particularly liked how it is very clumsily arranged, but it's clean. So this is it. It very much reflects her painting in the background and how she's placed her colors in the front. This is Monet. Monet did most of his paintings next to some water body or the other. He was also, the story also says that he died next to one of the spots where he painted. So one of his paintings is water lilies, which he painted not just one but multiple times. So I really like how that again the story somehow replicates or links to how he's put his painting next to this big huge window which is all natural light. This is all natural light. And this is Frida Kahlo. So she's one of the very famous inspirations for artists all over about her studio setting and how she painted and the kind of subjects she painted on. She started painting after her accident. She had a major accident when she was 18, when she broke her rib cage, her collarbone, and 3 of her spinal vertebrae, and because of which she was on bed rest for forever. And so her entire studio was custom made to her purpose and her style, and she made all her paintings in this one studio, which is her home studio in Mexico. It is called the Blue House, and this was designed for her by her husband and father together. This is that. This is Henry Matisse. So I really liked how the age or limitation, nothing is stopping him from painting. So I really like the vibe in this picture. And this is Paul Cézanne. So I think this is the last one. Okay, no. So there's one more after this. So I really like how this space is so huge, but it is so organized. Like, I don't know, would you call it organized? Not, but for me, it's something that is very soothing. Like, I would want to work in a space like this. So this is the last one, which is Picasso. And what I found most interesting about all the pictures of Picasso's studio that I found all over the internet was that none of the pictures said much about his studio space, but they really gave out a very happy vibe from all his postures and all the energy that he radiated from his actions in those pictures while the paintings were in work in progress, all the famous ones that we know about. Time for my tour of the studio. So I'll start from the door again. This is my studio. I put this up because I think every time somebody enters the space, I wanted everybody in my family to know that they're not entering my bedroom, but they're entering my studio. So that is why I put this up. And the next is, these are my cupboards, which I use as my pin board. So a lot of paintings from me and all the ones that I've received from different times, and all the things that I like are here. One interesting thing is this. I learned this from my director at Srishti. So these are two things. The design is a service to somebody else, and correct questions is equal to good reflective answers. This is another corner from my entire space. So this is a sort of a library, and this is another of my projects. And I've kept a spare light here, which is white in color. I have the same in yellow, which I use on the table currently, but otherwise it's here. So these are my hamsters. They're kept in separate cages because they're having a fighting issue. That is C, this is Roo, and that's Joe, and that is little baby Pasta. That is my table, and this is how my studio looks like. So I'll start from this table. This one is an old drafting table from Alag Angle. So earlier Tanul sir was using this. So this is custom designed, keeping in mind that it is going to be used for paintings. So this table bends from here. From here it can be folded upwards in whatever angle you want to fold. But my current requirement was to have a flatter surface. So that's why I kept it like that. This is the side square table I was talking to you about. That all the things on this table are the ones that I'm currently working on. But on this table are the rest of the things which I need on my table, but not at all times. This is my shelf wherein I keep most of the things that I'm going to need. Different kinds of papers, my book to read, my poetry book is there, and this is it. Here at the back is my pen stand, which I don't always use but need on the table. These are my shades, and this is my tool bag, which has all the tools that I'm mostly using. Here I have put up an empty canvas because I've heard it in a story. I don't know if all of you have also, which is about a leaf. So in that story, the artist has a plain canvas in a studio till the end of his life because he thinks he hasn't made his best artwork yet. So that's the kind of inspiration I'm looking at. Here is some of the food that I'm keeping, like Marwadi, Nashta and everything for myself to eat. These are some different kinds of papers. That roll also has a lot of paper in it, so that when I have to open up and eat, I can open up and work, so I can use bigger sheets. This one is an old drafting table, architectural drafting table, which I'm using as an easel. So you can change the angle from here. This on the top is an older canvas, which I painted from the back to make a board where I can put up paintings. So I needed this apart from what all that I've put here is because whatever series I'm currently working on, I needed all the current series artworks here. So the current series that I'm working on is about windows. So that is where all the artworks are that I've kept. And this is the stake your claim wala corner that I was talking about. That looking at this, everybody knows whose studio it is. These are the flowers that I told you about. That's a calendar, seed calendar that I designed. So I don't really need a calendar, but looking at that reminds me of a lot of things I know I want to do. This is my makeshift portable stand because the phone is too heavy to keep on something else, and this was perfectly fitting, so that's why I'm using that. I also have this, which is like a larger worksheet wherein I know all the things that I have to do. I write down here, and this is my schedule, like if I'm doing something today, what all things are supposed to come on it. So that is my studio. This is my bed. That is one of Tanus's very favorite paintings of mine that I've had for a very long time now. And this is what my studio looks like. So guys, this is all I have to say. I've put across all the examples I had and all that I had to say, and I hope you like this, and I'm looking forward to get to know you guys better throughout these 30 days. We'll stay in touch through the WhatsApp group, and I'm always available for you to ask for any doubts and any questions about any of the talks which are happening and coming across. So excited to know you better. Bye bye.